At number 10, we have Tom Cruise's bizarre 2005 Today Show interview where Matt Lauer asks the actor about his Brooke Shields' use of antidepressants comment. Everyone's favorite Scientology poster boy completely flipped out by calling Matt glib and stating he didn't understand psychiatry as Tom does and only communicates it. Therefore, Matt shouldn't be speaking on things he doesn't understand. The Church of Scientology has been notoriously known to be opposed to psychiatry, by the way. However, Tom's press tour incident also came with Matt questioning if his KDPDA scene was a publicity stunt, and the damage to Tom's reputation from that point was enough to have him in a single movie per year, until he reemerged on the public's good side with his 2008 role in Tropic Thunder. At that point, he was no longer publicly speaking about Scientology though. Matt has since admitted to Howard Stern that a publicist of Tom's had rung him prior to a segment airing with attempts to remove that portion of the sit-down, and Cruise had also issued an apology to him. At number 9, we have the formerly popular band 5 Seconds of Summer, who managed to alienate both their fans and the general public from a single Rolling Stone interview. In a December 2015 published piece, Michael Clifford was hungover from the performance the night before the interview, where he dished that they were surrounded by a load of phony people. He also detailed how they partied with Justin Bieber despite remarks that the Canadian singer allegedly hated them. Their drummer Aston Irwin further pushed that their female-dominated fanbase had them needing to prove that they were a quote real band and not just doing it for the girls. However, frontman Luke Hemmings counteracted this claim by over-explaining that the four young men were constantly placed in situations on their tour bus where they were surrounded by a lot of girls. He also suggested that the possibilities were quote endless when they were asked if they sleep with multiple people at once on the same night. It's safe to say we all know why we haven't heard much of them since. At number 8, we have the 2008 R. Kelly interview that flew his career further off the rails amidst his allegations of inappropriately messing around with aged girls. Journalist Tour sat down with R. Kelly where he outrightly asked during part of the interview if Kelly favored teenage girls. In response, Kelly questioned how old Tour was referencing, and a visibly taken aback Tour doubled down with clarification of what he meant. Kelly had to be sure though, so he asked if Tour was talking about 19-year-olds specifically, to which Tour responded confirming that he meant that and younger. R. Kelly then went on a spiel about how he has friends who were underage or freshly new to adulthood, but that he's allegedly never done anything to nor with them, and that the journalist shouldn't listen to people on his team who he previously fired. Tour later took to a Daily Beast interview to speak on his R. Kelly media run-in, where he admitted that upon BET's airing, R. Kelly's team demanded it be wiped off the face of the internet, but it was seemingly too late to stop the downward spiral that was R. Kelly's career. At number 7, we have the awkwardest Tom Hiddleston interview to exist, following his February 2000 GC dish, where he discussed his then split from singer Taylor Swift. In regards to this, Tom complimented his and Taylor's relationship immensely, speaking about how they were lovely together and their relationship was indeed real. Tom was even asked about his infamous I Heart TS tank, where he explained it stemmed from a friendly game which later became a joke between their friend group at the time. Tom was apparently extremely earnest during this interview, which reportedly landed him at his interviewer's hotel room door at 6 a.m. to clarify the points he made about Taylor during the interview, detailing that he was quote crushed by the end of their relationship. Since Tom's roles did in fact dry up, aside from his Loki reprisals, his 2019 Skull Island role, and his occasional voiceover work. At number 6, we have Jim Carrey and his famous wallflower and overwhelmingly dark interview style. There isn't just one to chalk this up to, rather plenty, but the greatest example is most likely his New York Fashion Week interview from the Harper Bazaar's Icons party. The multiple questions on icons at the event caused Jim to calmly spiral, and the reactions of the interviewer were nothing short of amusing. The awkward event in question harbored viral-worthy comments to prompts, like Jim saying stuff like, "There's no meaning to any of this, so I wanted to find the most meaningless thing that I could come to, and here I am. This is just the absolute lowest aiming possibility that we could come up with. I don't believe in icons, I don't believe in personalities. I believe we're a field of energy dancing for itself, and I don't care." Much like other interviews in the past, such as Jim's Iowa University of Management 2014 meeting, he's made similar remarks which turned heads. Overall though, to the reporter's best effort, she could not save the interview from all the meme-worthy moments it soon took on. And despite his former success, we haven't really heard much of Jim nowadays, have we? At number 5, we have Jesse Eisenberg and his once socially awkward title being spun into that of a jerk in the wake of his Univision and Associated Press interviews. When he spoke with Associated Press, he detailed his Comic-Con experience to be difficult, even going so far as to label it as quote some kind of side. The highly insensitive remark obviously raised some horror, and when he attempted to clear his name, it fell on deaf ears. Moreover, his clarification came with the words, "I'm a normal person who has normal sensory experiences, so Comic-Con was very overwhelming for me." And let's just say people were not here for it. As for his Univision chit-chat, while promotions for Now You See Me were occurring, Jussie referred to the interviewer as the Carrot Top of interviewers, which many deemed as straight up rude. If you don't know, Carrot Top is a comedian who the interviewer labeled as quote horrible, so I'm sure you can see how that was insulting. Anyway, despite Jussie's need to prove his dislike for the process of interviews, he should probably rein in some points from his fellow industry buddy Kristen Stewart, who's expressed her own feelings of not enjoying public press appearances before finding her own path. At number 4, we have Paris Hilton's startling 2011 ABC interview, which showed proof of her still seemingly viewing herself as the top reality TV star worldwide, despite the media princess being overshadowed by her former assistant turned bestie Kim Kardashian. It's clear throughout the sit-down that Paris attempted to remain calm, but the grilling of the reporter, seemingly intent on discounting her worth, most likely set Paris off. When she was questioned on whether or not she believed her time as a reality star was donezo, Paris took that as her cue to exit stage left, leaving the set altogether. Some say she must not have been ready to accept what the world apparently already knows, that her chapter had officially reached its end long before her interview. Yikes. At number 3, we have the Australian newspaper interview with Denzel Washington, who seemed to make it apparent he didn't have extra time to deal with the press. His endless amount of sighs even caused him to go instantly viral. Reportedly, the interviewer flew miles and miles to do a press junket with Denzel, but at first it seemed he'd be a no-show. Thankfully, he did end up coming to the press junket, which is common in the industry to get quick dishes on celebrity to gain more buzz for them and the companies the interviewers are under. Understandably, this process is referred to as awkward and repetitive, and well, Denzel seemed to be no different. And while some actors are good sports, others like Julia Roberts and Tommy Lee Jones don't try nearly as hard. Apparently, Denzel joined this list shortly after. In the end, the interviewer's charm and persistence managed to get him engaged and somewhat more responsive than the daunting, cold exterior Denzel seemed to exude at first. Denzel even mentioned wanting to watch a suggested clip from the interviewer. But despite this, a year later, someone uploaded the interview to YouTube with the tagline of "arrogant rude interview" that's been watched millions of times. Unfortunately for Denzel, this just wasn't one of his best, but thankfully, the reporter still ended up having a great time overall. At number 2, we have Robert Pattinson's Twilight press frenzy, where it was obvious Robert was against any conversations regarding his then rumored relationship with his former co-star and ex-girlfriend Kristen Stewart. Naturally though, this became the burning red question in every media outlet, as everyone was clearly itching to ask Robert what their status was at the time. One of these people included Ryan Seacrest, who questioned him on his on-air show about what the ground of their relationship was. Robert was prompted to flee by his agent, and surprisingly, he did just that. In conclusion, Robert is no stranger to being around the center of awkward interviews, which clearly makes it harder for the general public to look at him in a more positive aspect. At number 1, we have the Kanye West comment that nearly ended this man's whole career, and that was his revealed thoughts on slavery. Warning, this may anger you. Anyway, Kanye served up quite the controversy and massive backlash in the media when he took to a TMZ live interview to make a statement that pissed off the whole world. The public outcry forced people to question his mental stability again, and the comment in question was that he genuinely believes slavery is a choice. His views on the oppressive system were ignited not even a week following his Make America Great Again stunt, where he professed his admiration for then US President Donald Trump. On the show, he outlined his decision behind wearing the infamous baseball cap, which had since become a trademark in Trump's MAGA political movement. The conversation took a left though when Kanye spoke on slavery, where he was accompanied by conservative commentator Candace Owens, who is outspoken in the details of the centuries-long African-American struggles of spending their lives shackled in servitude. His comment was of course met with stunned silence, which included the media outlet's founder Harvey. Kanye explained, quote, "You hear about slavery for 400 years, that sounds like a choice. You were there for 400 years and it was all of y'all? It's like we're meant to be in prison. I like the word prison because slavery goes too direct to the idea of blacks. Prison is something that unites us as one race." One of the TMZ staff, Van, called West out to take responsibility for his words, where he ranted, "While you're living the life that you've earned by being a genius, the rest of us in society have to deal with these threats to our lives, with the marginalization that has come from the 400 years of slavery that you said for our people was a choice. Frankly, I'm disappointed, appalled, and unbelievably hurt by the fact that you have morphed into something that, to me, is not real." West issued an apology to Van before embracing him, and later wrote a statement on Twitter to further clarify his points. In it, the rapper detailed, "To make myself clear, of course I know that slaves did not get shackled and put on a boat by free will. My point is for us to have stayed in that position even though the numbers were on our side means that we were mentally enslaved. The reason why I brought up the 400 years point is because we can't be mentally imprisoned for another 400 years. We need free thought now." Even if the statement was an example, just an idea.
And at number 10, Brendan Fraser. Brendan Fraser was a huge movie star in the early 2010s, being known for box office hits like The Mummy and Journey to the Center of the Earth. But out of nowhere, he just stopped being cast in things, and his name started to follow the question, whatever happened to that guy? It seems his entire career changed course when he decided to turn down the lead role in the sequel to Journey of the Center of the Earth called Journey to the Mysterious Island. The role went to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson instead, and that movie was even bigger than the first. He not only decided to decline that role, but he also accepted roles in 2 other movies that flopped. After this, his career took a sharp decline, and he was not able to recover from it. However, he is now starring in a movie that will be released soon, and fans are calling it the Renaissance. And at number 9, Michael Richards. The legendary Seinfeld actor got serious backlash after he started calling a member of his audience racial slurs because this person was heckling him during a stand-up routine. This went down in 2006, and in response to the heckling, Richards decided to call him the N-word along with other slurs, and demanding that the African-American customer be thrown out of the club. The backlash was so harsh that he decided to leave the stage before his routine was even over. In 2006, Michaels tried to revitalize his image by apologizing for the comments on The Late Show with David Letterman. However, it seems the apology was not taken well because his career took a nosedive after that appearance. Since this incident, Richards has only appeared in 2 roles, one on Curb Your Enthusiasm and another on Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee. And at number 8, Tila Tequila Nugent. Tila Tequila got her fame from MySpace, and at one point she was the most well-known person on the platform. Since she was an internet celebrity, MTV decided to give her a dating show called A Shot at Love with Tila Tequila in 2007, and she was even cast in a Hollywood movie as well. But her career came to a screeching halt when she decided to post an article to her website describing why she sympathized with who was of course the German leader during the Second World War. In the piece, she claimed he was, quote, not a bad person as they made him out to be. She even posted photos of herself in his memorabilia. Tequila attempted to get her career back on track in 2015 when she appeared as a housemate on the UK celebrity Big Brother, but she was kicked out once people learned of her past. And at number 7, Brian Williams. Brian Williams was one of the top news anchors ever, filling the coveted nightly news spot on NBC. He was even so well respected that he was frequently a guest on Saturday Night Live and 30 Rock. But that all changed when it was exposed that Williams was a liar. The lie first started back in 2003, and he basically claimed that he was riding in a military helicopter that was forced to the ground while flying over Iraq. The plane was hit by an RPG and almost crashed. He kept repeating the story over and over for years after, even mentioning it on The Late Show with David Letterman in 2013. But when the world found out this whole story was a lie, everyone was shocked and felt that they couldn't trust him again. He ended up getting a 6-month unpaid suspension from NBC, and his career took a huge hit. He never came back to his role and was demoted to a smaller network after. And at number 6, Paul Reubens. Paul Reubens was known to the world as the lovable character of Pee Wee Herman that was huge in the 1980s. The children's show even won an Emmy, enhancing his celebrity status even further. But things all went south in 1991 when it was revealed that he was arrested for indecent exposure at an adult movie theater. Because of this, Pee Wee toys were pulled from shelves across the nation, and he was out of the spotlight for the rest of the 90s. He tried to make a comeback years later, but that was halted when even more charges of a sexual nature were brought against him. After this, his public reputation hit new lows, and nobody wanted to be associated with him. But he did come back once again in 2016 to play Pee Wee Herman in the Netflix film Pee Wee's Big Holiday. Surprisingly, it had a good reaction, I assume because people forgot about his past. Halfway number 5, Rob Lowe. So crazy enough, the person that we talked about last, Paul Reubens, is actually connected to Rob Lowe's scandal. Rob Lowe was a prominent actor in the 80s, however when Reubens was being busted by the cops, they discovered an adult tape starring Rob Lowe. After this, his career took a huge hit. Lowe did not end up facing any legal repercussions because the age of consent is 16 in Georgia, but his public reputation did not recover. He even lost a role in the Titanic because of all the scandals. But over the years he was able to get back into the spotlight and was cast in movies like Wayne's World, Tommy Boy, and Parks and Rec. And at number 4, Amanda Bynes. Amanda Bynes was one of the biggest stars in the 2000s, starring in the hit show The Amanda Show, along with movies like She's the Man and What a Girl Wants. But sadly, like a lot of other child stars, she struggled to deal with the fame and derailed her career with substance abuse. This caused her to have a complete Twitter meltdown after she was arrested, tweeting all sorts of disturbing things. In her 2012 tweet storm, she told Drake that she wanted to sleep with him in much more colorful language. She also tweeted Rihanna telling her that, quote, Chris Brown beat you because you're not pretty enough. She ended the night by lighting a driveway on fire. Because of all this, she was put in a psychiatric facility and her career was put on hold. She has not come back to the spotlight since. And at number 3, Jared Fogle. Jared Fogle became a bona fide celebrity after he became the face of Subway sandwiches and promoted the sandwiches as a tool for his weight loss. His celebrity status even got him roles in movies and spots on late night shows. But this all came to a screeching halt when it was exposed that he had participated in indecent conduct with along with having illegal images. Fogle had been on the FBI's radar since 2007, and they finally arrested him in 2015. He got 15 years in prison, his wife divorced him, and Subway cut all ties with him. But unfortunately, his connection to Subway was too strong for the public to ignore, and the company's reputation took a huge hit because of the scandal. And at number 2, Paula Deen. Paula Deen was once one of America's favorite celebrity chefs, making good southern food for television. She was even cast on shows like Top Chef, Master Chef, Extreme Makeover Home Edition, and a role in an actual movie called Elizabethtown. But in 2012, her empire was destroyed after it was exposed that she regularly said the N-word. Deen was even sued by the general manager of one of her restaurants, as they claimed that Deen would frequently use the N-word in the workplace. In testimony during the trial, the manager's lawyer asked Deen if she had ever used the N-word before, and she replied, quote, "Yes, of course." After these statements, she was cut from the Food Network, and it seems that she doesn't even really care. She tweeted a photo of her son in blackface only years later. And finally, at number 1, Kathy Griffin. Kathy Griffin is no stranger to controversy. It's partly what's made her famous. However, she took one joke way too far and it ended up costing her her career. In May of 2017, Griffin posted a picture of herself holding a decapitated Donald Trump mannequin head. She did this stunt in an attempt to mock Trump, but it kinda sorta looked like a potential threat against the president's life, which is not tolerated in the media. The FBI even investigated her over the picture. Griffin apologized, saying in a statement, quote, "I don't think I'm going to have a career after this, I'm going to be honest, Trump broke me." But months later, she actually retracted her apology and decided the backlash against her was too much. As a result, she was banned from CNN and her stand-up shows were cancelled. And at number 10, Katherine Heigl. Katherine Heigl was a rising star in Hollywood. She was on the hit show Grey's Anatomy, along with getting cast in tons of rom-coms like Knocked Up. But her career went downhill fast after 2 terrible interviews where she offended the very people that were getting her recognition in Hollywood. In one, she revealed she didn't think she deserved an Emmy for Grey's Anatomy because she didn't like her storyline. In another interview, she said the film Knocked Up was, quote, kind of sexist. These comments got her labeled as difficult and ungrateful. Recently, she's come back into the industry and managed to land some roles, but she's still desperately trying to get back in people's good graces. And at number 9, Stacey Dash. Stacey Dash was beloved in her role in the classic film Clueless, but after years as an actress, she got increasingly political and it completely derailed her acting career. She started being vocal on Twitter around 2015, once saying that transgender people should, quote, pee in the bushes instead of using public restrooms, and then she said that women that accuse men of taking advantage of them are just, quote, bad girls. Actress Gabrielle Union even once called her a crazy lady. Her support of conservative politics ended up landing her a spot on Fox News. However, she recently left the network and claimed that they had forced her to be a, quote, angry black woman, as well as taking back some of her more controversial statements. And at number 8, Elizabeth Berkley. Elizabeth Berkley burst into the spotlight, playing Jessie Spano in Saved by the Bell. But when the series was over, Berkley decided to play older and more mature roles to break out of the teenage character the public had known her for, and she was cast in the movie Showgirls. She thought the movie was going to be a hit, but instead it was an epic failure that got horrible reviews. Berkley took home Razzies for the Worst Actress and Worst New Star award. The film was even nominated for the Worst Picture of the Decade at one point. After this disaster, the industry turned their back on Berkley, and she was no longer considered a leading lady to movie studios. And at number 7, Remy Ma. At one point, Remy Ma was one of only 5 female rappers to ever top the charts, and was incredibly successful. But that all changed after she had some cash stolen out of her purse, and she assumed it was by a lady named Makeda Barnes Joseph, so Remy decided to shoot her. Apparently while the ladies were fighting over the purse, Remy's gun went off, and the other woman was shot 2 times. Apparently while the woman was on the ground bleeding, Remy took the purse and left. She ended up serving 6 years in jail, and when she came out, her career never recovered. In at number 6, Caitlyn Jenner. Caitlyn Jenner became a hero for LGBTQ people when she came out as trans in 2015, and brought trans issues into the forefront of the conversation. She continued sharing her journey on the show I Am Kate, but her good relationship with the trans community changed in 2016 when she revealed that she was a proud supporter of Ted Cruz and President Trump. Many people in the trans community found her opinions hypocritical, especially considering Ted Cruz is a vocal supporter of controversial anti-trans bathroom bills. Matters were made worse when Caitlyn did an interview on The Ellen Show and reluctantly revealed that she's okay with gay marriage, even then stating that she's very conservative in those beliefs. I Am Kate was cancelled after 2 seasons, and support for her in the trans community has dwindled. Halfway at number 5, Taylor Kitsch. Actor Taylor Kitsch was primed to become a hockey player, but at the age of 20 he was badly injured and had to find another path in life. This other path became acting, and after he decided that's what he wanted to do, he lived a hard life to make his dreams happen. He was even homeless at some points. He then landed the role as Tim Riggins in Friday Night Lights and quickly developed a loyal fan base. Then in 2012 he got the role of a lifetime, leading the John Carter adaptation. But it was a complete failure and lost the studio $200 million. After a similar failure months later with the movie Battleship, studios no longer wanted to take the risk on him as their leading man, and he stopped getting cast in lead roles. In at number 4, Chris Brown. Chris Brown was one of the hottest rappers in the game in the early 2010s, and after he started dating Rihanna, his fame exploded even further. But that all changed in 2009 when he physically Rihanna, leaving her face bloody and bruised. The domestic violence case led Brown's career to tank, as well as deals getting cancelled and his songs taken off of radio stations. He even had a request for a UK visa revoked because of this incident. His career and public image plummeted, but that was not the first time that he was in trouble with the law. A few years later, while in Times Square, Brown again lost control and threw an object at a window, causing property damage. He's also been involved in plenty of other domestic disputes as well as legal issues. Crazy enough, he still collaborates with tons of other artists, but the public will never forgive him. In at number 3, Oscar Pistorius. Oscar Pistorius became known around the world for participating in the Paralympics. The South African athlete was born missing the outside of both feet and both fibulae. Both of his feet were amputated when he was only 11 months old due to this, but he decided to become a sprinter and was an inspiration to many around the world. But that all changed on Valentine's Day in 2013 when Pistorius shot and killed his girlfriend, Riva Steenkamp. At first he claimed that he mistook her for an intruder and it was all an accident, but as time went on, it was revealed that it was a lie. After he was charged, many sponsors dropped Pistorius, including Nike. In 2016, he was sentenced to 6 years imprisonment for murder. And at number 2, John Travolta. John Travolta's career is a bit of a rocky one, but luckily for him he's been in a few legendary movies that have made him a certified A-list actor. He became a household name from his role in Grease, but after that he wasn't a part of anything really notable, until Pulp Fiction changed everything, and he proved he was able to carry an action-packed and mysterious role. But even with the insane success of Pulp Fiction and other movies shortly after, Travolta made a string of bad decisions that moved him to the bottom of the barrel in the acting world. The final nail in the coffin was Battlefield Earth, which was branded one of the worst movies ever made by The Guardian. The movie is so bad it has 3% on Rotten Tomatoes. Since then, Travolta's career has been officially sunk, and he's trying hard to redeem himself. And finally, at number 1, Tom Green. At one point, Tom Green was the hottest thing in comedy, and it was looking like he was the next big thing. He even got his own show on MTV simply called The Tom Green Show. At this point, everyone wanted Green to make a movie for their network, and 20th Century Fox was no exception. With that studio, Green made a movie called Freddie Gottfried, a comedy that was a horrific box office disappointment. After that disaster to fans and studios, Green has been unable to recapture the public's interest. Freddie Gottfried has slowly entered cult status over the years, but is still considered a massive disappointment. And at number 10, Demi Moore. Demi Moore's career was taking off and she was on her way to becoming a well-respected actress, but that all changed when the film G.I. Jane was released and put her promising career on hold. She was even awarded a parody award for the worst actress for her role in that film. But Demi doesn't actually see it that way, and she revealed that G.I. Jane is one of her favorite movies, and she feels that it's very underrated. Demi said in one interview, quote, "It was that kind of criticism that really sent me to a space where I lost a little bit of passion and that maybe disheartened me." One of the studio execs even shared how much the film hurt her marketability in Hollywood, saying, quote, "People just don't want to see her. We would have to drag them kicking and screaming to see this movie." And at number 9, Charlie Sheen. Charlie Sheen's career got a second wind when he landed the show 2.5 Men, and it became a smash hit. He had been known for his partying in wild ways that all played out in the media during his divorce with Denise Richards, but everyone seemed to forget about his questionable past when 2.5 Men started. But after some time being on top again, his career tanked once again because of substance. After the show's creator Chuck Lorre was growing tired of Charlie's substance issues, he decided to fire him. Sheen then had a meltdown where he screamed profanities at Lorre, including anti-Semitic remarks, which cemented Lorre's decision. Ashton Kutcher then replaced him, and after a few episodes, no one really cared that Charlie was gone. And at number 8, Thomas Gibson. Thomas Gibson was best known from Criminal Minds, and his career was really taking off. Until 2016 when he got into a fight with one of the show's co-executive producers and ended up kicking him. Gibson was temporarily suspended so the show could do an investigation, but after the investigation they realized it was the tip of the iceberg. His behavior on set was unacceptable, so he was prematurely kicked off the show. The official statement read, quote, "Thomas Gibson has been dismissed from Criminal Minds. Creative details for how the character's exit will be addressed in the show will be announced at a later date." Apparently the kick was the third strike after another on-set outburst, as well as a DUI, and his reputation never recovered. And at number 7, David Hasselhoff. David Hasselhoff was a household name until his daughter leaked an embarrassing tape of his, and the public never looked at him the same way since. In 2006, his daughter posted a video of Hasselhoff eating off the floor in a drunken stupor. And this was not the beginning of his misuse of drugs and alcohol, and his substance issues caused him to not only lose his career, but his family as well, unfortunately. After all the scandal surrounding Hasselhoff's name, Hollywood nor the public wanted to be associated with him, and his reputation tanked. He got sober in 2009 and tried to come back into the spotlight, but the damage was already done. And at number 6, Mark Salling. Mark Salling rose to fame on the hit show Glee, but his career and public opinion of him tanked in 2016 when it was revealed that he possessed illegal images featuring minors. After he was charged with various crimes related to this, he was promptly cut from the miniseries Adi Shankaraj's Gods and Secrets. The director revealed this on his Facebook page, writing, quote, "He has been cut from the miniseries. I will personally be paying for the reshoots, and I hope that Mark finds inner peace." After this was exposed, even more allegations of crimes came to light, and everyone was cutting ties with him. Salling pled guilty to the charges but took his own life before he was sentenced. Halfway at number 5, Jussie Smollet. Jussie Smollet was best known for his role in Empire at the time of his scandal, although he wasn't a household name. But his fame exploded to new heights when he alleged that 2 white men who were wearing MAGA hats attacked him, shouting racist and homophobic slurs. The whole world supported him and he became somewhat of a figurehead against racial hate, until it was revealed that it was all a lie, and he actually paid 2 men to attack him. After it was revealed that he faked everything, the city of Chicago sued him for filing a fake police report, as well as the cost of investigating the attack, for over $130,000. On February 11th of 2020, Smollet was indicted again by a Cook County grand jury on 6 counts pertaining to making 4 false police reports, and he was of course blacklisted from the industry. And at number 4, Faye Dunaway. Faye Dunaway was set to become Hollywood royalty with movies like Bonnie and Clyde and Chinatown under her belt. But it seemed that her head got too big for her cast and crew, and she quickly developed a reputation for being difficult, which is never a label you want to get in the industry before you're a bona fide A-list star. Then to make things worse, Bette Davis came out against her on Johnny Carson. When Carson asked who was the worst person in Hollywood, she replied, quote, "Faye Dunaway, and everybody you can put in this chair would tell you exactly the same thing." When asked to elaborate, she added, quote, "I don't think we have the time to go into all the reasons, she's just uncooperative." After this, her career was over. And at number 3, Taylor Lautner. Taylor Lautner made a name for himself as the lovable hunk in the Twilight series, and he was cast in a number of other movies at the time because of his star power. But there were fears that he was asking for way more money than he was worth, and when the big paychecks Hollywood paid him didn't result in box office success, he was quickly blacklisted. To make matters worse, he starred in a movie called Abduction that was rated so poorly that Lautner ended up leaving Hollywood after. And at number 2, Alex Pettyfer. Alex Pettyfer rose to fame as the hunk in the movie I Am Number 4 and Beastly. But since he rose to fame so fast, his arrogance got the best of him and he was branded difficult and disrespectful. An unnamed source who worked with Pettyfer on the set of I Am Number 4 told the publication, quote, "He was a nightmare and irrational. He had no body of work to remotely justify his behavior." But that's not all. He also did a horrible interview in 2011 where he basically offended all of Hollywood. In the interview, he basically trashed LA, calling it a shithole, and saying that the people that live there are all "see you next Tuesdays." Yeah, I can't say that word. Pettyfer did not reprise his central role in the 2015 Magic Mike sequel, Magic Mike XXL, and his work since is minimal. And finally, at number 1, Tom Cruise. Of course, Tom Cruise's career will never be fully ruined because he will always be considered an A-list actor. But over the years, he's made some serious dents in his reputation. The worst might be Cruise's interview with Matt Lauer, where his temper changes dramatically, showing the world that Cruise has a very short fuse. In the 2005 interview, Lauer asked Cruise about his comments criticizing Brooke Shields for taking antidepressants for her postpartum depression. Cruise kept going on that he doesn't agree with it, and when asked why, Cruise added, quote, "You don't know the history of psychiatry. I do," along with getting more combative as the conversation went on. That, in part with his sketchy divorce from Katie Holmes, made public opinion of him tank. Starting off our list at number 10, Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson was known for his roles in movies like the Lethal Weapon series, the Mad Max series, and Braveheart. But now he's mostly known for being anti-Semitic. In 2009, Gibson was arrested for driving under the influence with an open container of alcohol in his vehicle. The officer refused to let Gibson drive himself home, obviously, and then Gibson totally lost it, ranting about Jewish people and saying that they're responsible for all the wars in the world. Gibson even asked the officer if he was Jewish. That wasn't the last time he was caught using slurs either. He was also caught using the N-word on a call in 2010. After this, his reputation took a massive hit. And at number 9, Megan Fox. Megan Fox's career was destroyed after one bad interview. She was primed to be one of the biggest actresses ever, as the leading lady of the Transformers franchise. But in one interview, she completely trashed the film's director, Michael Bay, and was cut from the movie as a result. During a 2009 interview with Wonderland magazine, she was asked about working with Bay, to which she responded that he wants to be like Napoleon and wants to have an infamous madman reputation. But then she said in real life, he's actually incredibly awkward with no social skills at all. Yikes. Steven Spielberg reportedly did not take kindly to her comments, and she was then kicked out of the third and fourth film. After that, her career completely diminished, and she only just started to get back into the spotlight in 2020. And at number 8, Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods was once the most respected golfer in the world, as well as being one of the highest paid athletes. But that all came to a halt when his professional image was shattered after it was exposed that he had cheated on his wife with countless women. It all came to a head in 2009 when he crashed his Escalade into a tree in his own front yard, with many claiming that his ex-wife kicking him out caused the crash. After he confessed to all the cheating, his image was ruined and all of his sponsors dropped him. After years of laying low, he came back strong, winning the 2019 Masters, although he is still tied to his party boy image. His career took another hit recently when he veered off a hill and his car rolled down the hill, causing many injuries that might even mean the end of his career. And at number 7, Kanye West. It's absolutely shocking that Kanye West still has a career despite all his scandals. Just some of his biggest scandals have been stealing the mic from Taylor Swift, being a public Trump supporter, and admitting his wife Kim almost terminated her pregnancy with North, along with starting feuds with most of the biggest rappers and singers. But even after all that and a failed presidential run, Kanye still has some of the most loyal fans ever. Some even think that his resiliency might just be in part to PR strategy, as Kanye only really seems to get into scandals when he has an album to promote. And at number 6, Mariah Carey. Mariah Carey, of course, is one of the most talented singers ever, and even though she's gotten into some scandals for shading other celebrities in the past, the thing that really hurt her career was bad lip syncing. And in 2017, while she was performing live at the New Year's Eve show, millions watched as her performance became a complete train wreck. While she was performing the song Emotions, it seemed that her inner ear headphones stopped working and she froze, not really knowing what to do. After some terrible lip syncing, where it was clear her voice did not match up, she walked off stage mid-performance. After the fact, she claimed that she was set up by producers, but it was hard to believe and it looked like she was just too drunk to be performing. Halfway number 5, Ashlee Simpson. This is one of those accidents that sadly ruined her career. While Ashlee was on SNL to perform, her first song went off without an issue, but her second song caused an infamous moment that the internet will never forget. When the music started, the vocals for the track she sang before started to play, making it incredibly clear she was lip-syncing. Nobody knew what to do, so her band just kept playing while she danced around the stage and did not sing a word. In the days that followed, the singer was attacked in the media for lip-syncing, which is especially bad on an all-live show. After the incident, she tried to set the record straight and explain why she lip-synced. She told MTV that she lost her voice because of acid reflux, and instead of canceling the appearance, she thought it was better for everyone if she just faked it. But her career did not recover after that. And at number 4, Ryan Lochte. Ryan Lochte is an Olympic swimmer, and he was known to the world as a heartthrob. He went into the 2012 London Olympics with $2.3 million worth of endorsements. He was even more famous coming into the 2016 Rio Olympics, so his sponsorship deals were presumably even more. But when he didn't deliver in the Olympic Games, it seemed he took his anger out in the form of a lie. The incident was called Lochte-gate, wherein he claimed that he and his teammates were robbed and their lives were threatened by some thugs in Rio. After many went out looking for the criminals, he was forced to reveal that he made the whole thing up. In the end, he lost several of his sponsorships, including Speedo and Ralph Lauren, as well as his reputation. He was also banned from swimming for 10 months. In at number 3, Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan is known for throwing it down in the ring, wrestling his opponents, and putting on a great show. But after an adult tape starring Hogan was leaked, his career was never the same. You'd think it was because of the scandalous nature of the tape, but it wasn't that at all. It was because on this intimate tape, you can hear Hogan saying the N-word multiple times. To make matters worse, many of these racist comments were directed at his daughter Brooke's boyfriend at the time, who is black. He even said on the tape that he would feel better about her dating a black man if he was some sort of basketball player worth millions of dollars. Hogan sued the website Gawker after the fact for leaking the video, and Hogan got a massive payout from the lawsuit because his career was essentially over after that leak. He not only was removed from all WWE events, but he was even taken out of their Hall of Fame. And at number 2, Gilbert Gottfried. Gilbert Gottfried has an unforgettable voice that has made him a household name. After starring in many roles in Hollywood, he made his money by being the voice of the Aflac Duck. Aflac is an insurance company, and the duck has been their mascot since 1999. But after he posted an insensitive tweet about a tsunami that killed thousands of people in Japan, he was promptly fired. The tweet said, quote, "Japan is really advanced. They don't go to the beach comes to them." The tweet was made even worse by the fact that 75% of the business Aflac does is in Japan, and he offended their largest customer base. And finally, number 1, Miles Teller. Miles Teller burst onto the Hollywood scene in Damien Chazelle's 2014 directorial debut, Whiplash, which got plenty of critical acclaim. He even got a role in the Divergent series, which got him a lot more exposure. But his career really hit a snag because of a string of really bad interviews. In a 2014 interview with the New York Times, Teller said, quote, "I feel like a lot of actors of my generation are not proper actors. I want to break out of that whole group of actors in their early 20s and really start to put stuff down that lets you know I take this seriously." He even trashed John Cusack after a reporter compared the two of them. Teller said they are similar in some ways, but quote, "I don't want his career." In an interview later in 2015, he came off incredibly cocky. The author of the piece even wrote about Teller, quote, "So yeah, he's kind of a dick." He started to get cast in things again, but public perception of him is still very bad. And at number 10, Wesley Snipes. Wesley Snipes' career was taking off and he was known for many roles. But his career was derailed not because of his acting or even anything he did in public, but instead because he didn't pay his taxes. You'd assume that he would just pay it back and it would be no big deal, but his tax evasion was so egregious that he was actually sentenced to jail for his crimes. He was found guilty of willfully not filing taxes for 3 years and got 1 year in prison for every year he didn't pay taxes. He was also forced to pay back $17 million to the government. This was what he owed in taxes, along with fines and penalties. His time in jail put his career on hold, and when he came out, no one wanted to hire him. And at number 9, Paz de la Huerta. This actress was going to be huge. Even when she wasn't that well known, she was being covered in the press for her outrageous antics. Like one time when she allegedly went into a sauna while covered in honey. While she was filming the show Boardwalk Empire, she developed a reputation for for being a party girl, and this was basically the beginning of the end. TMZ got footage of her incredibly drunk after the Golden Globes. She even slipped and fell at one point. Then she was arrested for assault after she allegedly threw a glass at someone, then punched them in the face. Things got worse when reports came out that she was horrible on set, and she would show up to set erratic and unprofessional. She was fired shortly after, and her career did not recover from the hit. And at number 8, CeeLo Green. CeeLo Green gained prominence in the 2010s, and he was actually a pretty big name in the industry. He even got some acting gigs as a result of his music success, and he started judging on The Voice. But it seems like his big mouth ended up getting him into trouble. In October of 2012, he was accused of SA, a form of assault, and he ended up getting sentenced to probation and community service. But the real issue happened when he spoke about it on Twitter days later. He basically argued that if someone passed out and someone else tries to take advantage of them, it's not violating them because they consented. Obviously, this makes no sense and is just incredibly disturbing. He said in part on Twitter, quote, "If someone is passed out, they're not even with you consciously, so with implies consent." After this, he was kicked off TV, and he was even kicked from festivals that he planned to perform at. He's laid low ever since. And at number 7, Tonya Harding. Tonya Harding should be known as a figure skating legend who was the first American woman to land a triple axel in competition, but she's not. Instead, she's known as the vicious woman who harmed her competition in order to stay on top of the skating world. Her career was primed to reach new heights until someone hired a hitman to break Nancy Kerrigan's leg in hopes of giving Harding a better shot at the national championship. It didn't take long for people to suspect Tonya was behind it, and eventually word got out that her husband, Jeff Gillooly, and his friend were the masterminds behind this plan. Tonya claimed that she had no knowledge of the attack before it happened, but she did admit she learned of it after. She ended up pleading guilty as a conspirator to avoid jail time. She paid a $160,000 fine, was forced to withdraw from the 1994 World Figure Skating Championships, and was banned from figure skating for life. And at number 6, Robert Blake. Robert Blake had a career spanning decades, and he went from child stardom to respected adult actor. But everything changed in his personal and public life when his wife was killed in 2001. The details of the case were incredibly suspicious, and almost immediately Blake was a suspect. Bonnie Lee Berkley, his wife, was shot in his car, which was parked around the corner from a restaurant the couple was eating at that night. Apparently, he left his wife in the car while he went back into the restaurant to look for his quote missing gun, and when he came back, she was dead. There wasn't enough evidence to charge Blake with anything until 2 men came forward shortly after, claiming that Blake offered to pay them to kill his wife. 3 years after his arrest, Blake was acquitted, though a civil court claim later found him guilty of intentionally causing Berkley's death and ordered him to pay $30 million to her kids. But after this spectacle, his career was done. Halfway, number 5, Alan Carr. One terrible performance at the 1989 Oscars not only ruined Alan Carr's career, but also a budding actress by the name of Eileen Bowman. Producer Alan Carr was left in charge of the Oscars, and his worst mistake was opening the show with a performance from Snow White, starring Eileen Bowman, that was a complete disaster. Firstly, it made no sense, and it was very eccentric, and then Rob Lowe joined later to make the whole thing even cringier. The Hollywood Reporter called the number a nightmare, while the New York Times said it had earned a permanent place as the worst Oscar embarrassments. The worst treatment probably went to Bowman, who fled the city and went home to San Diego within hours of the performance. She wasn't able to return, and it's still dubbed as one of Alan Carr's worst decisions. And at number 4, Rebecca Gayheart. Rebecca Gayheart was best known for her roles in 90210 as well as Jawbreaker, and her career looked like it was going to continue to be great until 2001, when she hit and killed a who was crossing the street. It was actually her negligence that led to the death, because other cars around them had stopped for the boy before Gayheart failed to stop and hit him. She settled a wrongful death lawsuit with the boy's family, but the damage to her career was done, and nobody wants to work with someone who was convicted of such a terrible crime. Since then, she's been demoted to small guest starring roles. And at number 3, the Dixie Chicks. The Dixie Chicks are known as a legendary country group, and the ladies enjoyed chart-topping success while they were on top. But a wrong political move kicked the women off their pedestal. The lead singer Natalie Maines bashed President George W. Bush during a live concert in 2002. She said, quote, "Just so you know, we're on the good side with y'all. We do not want this war, this violence, and we're ashamed that the President of the United States is from Texas." But bashing the president was not as well accepted as it is now, and the women were promptly met with outrage. Country music genre completely blacklisted them, and their music was even boycotted by a number of radio stations in the aftermath. They tried to come back, but it didn't work. And at number 2, Jennifer Grey. Jennifer Grey was huge in the 80s, starring in movies like Dirty Dancing and Ferris Bueller's Day Off. She was particularly known known for her unique nose that was unlike the typical noses in Hollywood and really made her stand out. But while her career was taking off, she decided to get a nose job in 1989, assuming that it would help her get more roles. But the issue with this is that when she looked like everyone else, she wasn't unique anymore, and sadly her career shrank alongside her nose. Her nose job was minor, but because her nose was so distinct before, it made her completely unrecognizable. She said about the regrettable procedure, quote, "I went into the operating room a celebrity and came out anonymous." And because nobody recognized her, she stopped landing roles and her career faded fast. And finally, at number 1, Aaron Hernandez. Aaron Hernandez was primed to be a football star. He was rising up the ranks in football incredibly fast and even signed a $41 million contract with the New England Patriots. But everything in his life changed when he was accused of killing a man. He ended up being found guilty of this murder and sentenced to life in prison. While in prison, he had apparently been linked to other deaths, and it's widely believed that he's killed 4 people. But the story with Aaron got even more tragic because he took his own life while in prison in 2017. Many believe this happened because of the shame the entire debacle caused him and his family.
Starting off our list at number 10 is Lance Armstrong. He is known to be one of the greatest cyclists of all time until he became famous for being a part of the biggest doping scandal in cycling history. He was an incredible athlete that many people admired and supported, but one thing no one will tolerate is an athlete using drugs and cheating the system of performance and strength. It was hard for fans to hate him because he was a heroic cancer survivor who strived to inspire others, but the scandal quickly turned their feelings into anger. According to the US anti-doping agency, he, I quote, ran the most sophisticated, professionalized, and successful doping program that sport has ever seen. It was during an interview with Oprah in 2013 that he admitted to taking drugs. Former teammates turned on him as well as his fans. He was stripped from his cycling titles and dropped by all of his sponsors, including Nike Inc. and Livestrong. On top of that, he was banned from professional cycling races altogether. He ended up reaching a $5 million settlement with the government, but his career has never been the same ever since. He now has 2 podcasts, one called The Forward and one called The Move, where he is hoping that people will forget about the doping scandal, but I don't think so. At number 9 is Chris Brown. The singer ended up in court back in 2009 after he faced assault charges from his girlfriend at the time, Rihanna. They were once one of Hollywood's favorite couples until the allegations came forward and Chris actually pleaded guilty to them. He openly spoke about the events that happened, admitting that they were both physical with each other. He said, "I remember she tried to kick me, but then I really hit her with a closed fist. Like I punched her and it busted her lip, and when I saw it, I was in shock. I was like, why did I hit her like that?" Since telling the truth, his career and reputation has never been the same, and people in the industry lost a lot of respect for him, obviously. More recently, he found himself in another scandal in January 2019 after rape allegations were made against him. A woman filed a complaint saying that he raped her while partying together in Paris one night. Chris continued to deny the allegations and said it was just completely made up. Once he seems to be getting back on track with his career, another scandal comes up. Either it's a lot of bad luck or you're just not a good person and you're getting caught. Coming in at number 8 is Paula Deen. Her face was all over the Food Network for years until a lawsuit was filed against her. Lisa Jackson filed a lawsuit against a celebrity chef accusing her of racial discrimination because she used the N-word when talking about African Americans. So who's Lisa Jackson? It's actually Paula's former general manager of her restaurant, so it was pretty personal. When Paula was asked if she has ever used the N-word, her response was, "Yes, of course, it's just what they are. They're jokes. Most jokes are about Jewish people, rednecks, black folks. I can't determine what offends another person." Fox News obtained quotes that she has said over her career where she made a variety of comments that most people would find offensive. Her representative gave TMZ this statement: "Miss Deen does not condone or find the use of racial epithets acceptable. She is looking forward to her day in court." Regardless of what the judge thinks though, networks canceled her TV programs worldwide and stores even stopped selling her products. Her career took a big hit all because of her choice of words. So lesson learned, choose your words wisely. Up next at number 7 is James Franco. He was once one of the most popular actors in Hollywood, showing up in pretty much all of our movies in some way or another. But his career started to crumble back in 2014 when screenshots surfaced of him trying to rent a hotel room for him and a 17-year-old girl. The screenshots revealed that she told him she was underage and also shows him identifying himself with a picture with his name on it, confirming that it was really him. Of course, when the screenshots broke the internet, people were disgusted. The press was on top of him asking to hear his side of the story, to which he apologized and said that he made a mistake. His career continued on after that scandal faded out, but then resurfaced again in 2018 after he showed up to the Golden Globe Awards wearing a Time's Up pin. The pin was designed to show support for women who are victims of sexual assault and harassment, but wearing that pin actually caused him a massive scandal and put the nail in the coffin on his career. The controversy started the night of the Golden Globes as women started tweeting the accusations in reference to his pin, sharing stories of how he sexually assaulted them and hashtagging cute Time's Up pin. Interviews with the girls and also Franco started flooding the internet, and we haven't seen him on the big screen ever since. Anything on his IMDb page is funded and produced by him. Since then, he has also deleted social media, which is probably for the best at this point. And at number 6 is John Lasseter, the founder of Pixar Studios and known worldwide for his animation and filmmaker work, mainly as the man behind the Toy Story series. He was one of the chiefs at Disney, which is why it was such a shock when he was revealed to be involved in a sexual harassment scandal. Back in November 2017, multiple women came forward with different accusations of inappropriate sexual behavior. He announced that he was taking a leave of absence at the time, but then it was announced later in June that he would be leaving the company altogether. Pixar released a statement saying that he would leave the company at the end of the year. The worst part is that he didn't deny any of the allegations, but instead just apologized for them. He lost everything he ever created with basically the biggest network in the world. His reputation was shattered in the Disney universe, but a statement was released saying that he was sorry. After taking a long time away from work, he is now going to lead the Skydance animation studio, so he will continue to have a career, but not like the one he had before. Although I don't think he should have any career. Halfway through the list at number 5 is Roseanne Barr. The actress and comedian is known for her work, but also for being a big supporter of Donald Trump as president. She once had her own ABC show called Roseanne, so you know that she was successful. I mean, the show was literally titled her name. However, this was all until she became one of Hollywood's most controversial figures in May 2018 after sending out some racist tweets. Her tweets were about Valerie Jarrett, a senior advisor to the former President Barack Obama. In her tweet, she compared Valerie to a cross between the Muslim Brotherhood and the movie Planet of the Apes. After seeing the backlash she received for the racist tweet, it was immediately deleted and she issued an apology. Sorry or not though, the damage was already done and it was way too late to save her career. ABC canceled her show, which was supposed to reboot the same day, coincidentally. ABC's president called Roseanne's tweets, I quote, abhorrent, repugnant, and inconsistent with our values. Since then, as of January of this year, 2019, her Twitter was off limits and she moved into her mother's basement in order to get out of LA. True story. She said she has a fear that everyone hates her and she blames ABC for ruining her life rather than having her back. When speaking about her tweet, she continues to say that it was just a joke and that she is a comedian. The only issue was that she was the only one laughing at her joke. Swiping the number 4 spot on our list is Jussie Smollet. The successful actor is mainly known for his role of Jamal on the TV series Empire. His career was in the best shape of his life until a story broke the news on January 29th, 2019, saying he was in the hospital after being attacked by 2 men. The story said that the attackers were yelling out racial and homophobic slurs and even poured a chemical substance on him before beating him up. All of Hollywood and his fans teamed up and rallied against the incident, which was seen as a hate crime. The 2 suspects in the case were both arrested and charged, and that is when the truth came out. The truth always comes out. The men ended up telling the courts that Jussie paid them to stage the entire thing. They even had the $3,500 signed check as evidence. On February 21st, Jussie was arrested on suspicion of filing a false police report. Under Illinois law, doing this is considered a Class 4 felony and could lead to 1 to 3 years in prison with a judge-set bond of $100,000. They also ordered him to surrender his passport at the time. The producers of Empire cut his character from the final 2 episodes of the current season and then evaluated all the options for the future. Luckily for Jussie, prosecutors have now dropped all charges against him, which is actually kind of annoying to me because I feel like his celebrity status got him out of that one. However, people never forget. Alright guys, in 3rd place is Bill Cosby. He was obviously going to be on this list, you guys. At one time, he was known for his impressive work as an actor, but now he's just known for being the actor who had more than 50 people accused him of sexual assault and misconduct. That is literally the worst title that you could have. The allegations began back in 2014 when he was accused of sexual assault that took place in the mid-1960s. He has been accused by different women for rape, drug-facilitated sexual assault, sexual battery, child sexual abuse, and sexual misconduct. As more people started coming forward with allegations, the alleged incident spanned from 1965 to 2008 in the US and 1 in Canada. He battled the allegations for years, but was first found guilty on April 26, 2018 for 3 counts of aggravated assault. Then on September 25, 2018, he was sentenced to 3 to 10 years in state prison and fined $25,000 plus the cost of prosecution, which was $43,611. Numerous Numerous organizations cut ties with the actor and even revoked honors and titles that were awarded to him throughout his acting career, which is super awkward. On top of that, media organizations pulled reruns of The Cosby Show, and TV Land and NBC both ended relationships with Cosby, along with others like Bounce TV, Hulu, and BET. As for life in prison, he is currently serving a sentence at the state prison near Philadelphia, and apparently he gets treated like any other prisoner. So in other words, no one really cares that he is Bill Cosby. In spot number 2 is Jared Fogle. You guys remember that guy that was in every Subway commercial? He was actually the pitch man for the entire company. So how did he get that gig? He lost a significant amount of weight with the help of Subway sandwiches, and his story made him the spokesperson for the company's advertising campaigns from 2000 all the way until 2015. Talk about the coolest job ever. Besides this, of course. However, his entire career was destroyed after he was charged for child pornography and paying for sex with minors. He pleaded guilty to his charges and was sentenced to 15 years in federal prison. His attorneys argued that he should only have a 5-year sentence since the girls he had sex with were 16 and 17 years old, not actually young children. However, the odds were not in his favor. Jared agreed to pay a total of $1.4 million in restitution to 14 different victims, and on top of that, the judge fined him $175,000. And of course, he was fired from Subway immediately. Duh. Taking our number 1 spot is Harvey Weinstein. I don't even think I have to explain why he's number 1 on our list. I feel like I can just say his name and you guys will be like, okay, we get it. But for the sake of this video, let me give you guys all the juicy details. If for some reason you don't know who he is or what I'm talking about, he is known for being one of Hollywood's biggest movie producers. He's the man behind pretty much all the big movies that we see in theaters. But his incredibly successful career began to crumble in October 2017 when the New York Times reported that dozens of women came out and accused him of rape, sexual assault, and sexual abuse over a period of 30+ years. More than 80 women in the film industry have since accused him of these acts. Of course, he denied the allegations, as most sexual predators do, but he was still dismissed from TWC and expelled from the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. Other associations also dropped his name and he basically just disappeared from the public eye, which is understandable. It wasn't until May 25th, 2018 that he was arrested in New York and charged with rape and other offenses, but he was released on bail. His lawyer said the settlement to resolve the lawsuits is worth $44 million. He had another court date set for September 9th, 2019, but it has been postponed until January 6, 2020, so as of now, I have no further updates for you guys.
Coming in at number 10, Paul Reubens. Buckle in folks, we're starting strong with this number. Reubens back in the 1980s was the bow-tied man-child we all came to love, Pee Wee Herman, a character which he portrayed in 2 feature films as well as an Emmy-winning children's TV series. However, the facade crumbled when Reubens was arrested back in 1991 for indecent exposure at an adult movie theatre, with deputies claiming that they spotted him masturbating during the movie. Charming. Following his arrest, he pleaded no contest and was forced to take part in an anti-drug campaign to avoid a trial on the misdemeanor charge. All Pee Wee merchandise and movies were pulled from shelves, and Reubens was deemed a public disgrace, retreating from the public eye entirely. Later on, he attempted a comeback which epically failed, as more charges were brought against him, this time relating to child pornography, with officers seizing thousands of items from a collection of vintage gay erotica. While Reubens denied the claims, his reputation went up in flames. Coming in at 9, Jennifer Grey. Jennifer Grey was a household name in the 80s, quickly earning her the title of 80s darling following her performances in Ferris Bueller's Day Off and Dirty Dancing. However, we no longer hear about Jennifer Grey, the actress that was predicted to rise to fame like her co-stars Matthew Broderick and Patrick Swayze. So what exactly happened? Well, one potential reason is because Grey has become completely unrecognizable since the days of her playing Bueller's sister. Back in the 80s, Grey was known for her nose. It was somewhat of a hot commodity, her trademark if you will. Well, her career quickly grinded to a halt in the early 90s when Grey got a nose job, opting for a smaller look to her original one. Grey once even stated, "It was the nose job from hell. I'll always be this once famous actress nobody recognizes because of a nose job." Yikes. In at 8, Michael Richards. Back in the day, Michael Richards was one of the kings of comedy, starring in the hit show Seinfeld for countless seasons. However, he wasn't just confined to that role. He also performed a lot of stand-up, which nobody predicted to draw the end of his long-running career. In 2006, Richards was performing when he began to engage in a standoff with a heckler in the audience, and in a split-second decision, he ruined his entire career by responding to the man with a series of racial slurs, even demanding the man be thrown out of the club. Even worse, the entire incident was recorded, clearly showing Richards telling the man, I quote, "50 years ago they'd have you hanging upside down with a fork up your ass. As you would expect, the audience were in shock as Richards repeatedly used the N-word. Richards then quickly left the stage without finishing his routine. Richards later went on to The Late Show to apologize for his outburst, stating that he was deeply sorry for what happened, and that he wasn't actually a racist. However, it didn't seem to do him any good because since then he has only had small cameo appearances on TV shows. Serves him right. In at 7, Lindsay Lohan. Of course, who could forget Lohan's fall from grace following her huge hit Mean Girls, released back in 2004, as well as Freaky Friday and Herbie Fully Loaded. It seemed as though all the cards were in her favour until Lohan was taken to hospital on May 26, 2007 after getting into a car accident. She had only just been discharged from the Wonderland Center rehab facility for undisclosed problems before Lohan was facing charges for a DUI, possession of cocaine, and a misdemeanor hit and run following the accident. Now, if this didn't cement her downward spiral, she was arrested on the exact same charges just 2 months later. And yet again, only days after exiting rehab. Now you might think that's the end of it, but oh no. Lohan continued acting for a short while, even starring in I Know Who Killed Me, where she played opposite herself in the 2 main roles, earning her the Worst Screen Couple Award at the 2008 Golden Raspberries, as well as the Worst Actress. You won't find Lohan in any films now, however she is the executive producer of her own reality show called Lindsay Lohan's Beach Club, which airs on MTV. You should check it out. In at 6, Rob Lowe. Now connecting to our number 10 point, one of the items confiscated from Paul Rubens' pornography stash was the infamous Rob Lowe sex tape, which is exactly why Lowe is making an appearance on our list. Lowe was a member of the Brat Pack back in the 80s, starring in St. Elmo's Fire and Youngbloods. However, his charming boy-next-door facade crumbled when a video of him having sex with a 16-year-old girl was leaked, resulting in his career to come crashing down. The incident occurred in Atlanta in 1988, while Lowe was attending a Democratic National Convention, during which time he took 2 girls to bed after meeting them at a nightclub, unaware that one was only 16. However, in Georgia, the legal age of consent is 16, so Lowe escaped prosecution. The controversy continued though when a second clip was leaked showing him and a friend having sex with a woman at the same time. Now his career has somewhat been salvaged. The actor does claim that he lost out on the role of Jack though in Titanic because of the fallout. In at 5, Charlie Sheen. Sheen was at one time the highest paid actor in Hollywood. However, with such power comes a lot of pressure, with the actor turning to drugs and stupidity, destroying his own career in seconds. His demise came when he was first fired from TV shows for reasons related to drug addictions and anti-Semitic comments. He took his stupidity to a whole new level though when he began to verbally attack Chuck Lorre, the man who gave Sheen his career. Not only that, but Sheen went on to tell the media that he was a warlock and that he had tiger blood. He then began to upload videos to the internet of him smoking weed and cursing his employers, also stating that he was a rock star from Mars. Following on from his meltdown, he revealed that he had HIV and, knowing this fact, had sexual relations with around 200 partners. In at 4, Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson seems to have had a slew of scandals over his long career. Shockingly though, it wasn't his DUI arrest that made Hollywood want to turn their back on the Braveheart star. It was actually the conversation he had with the police officer while in the back of the car. After refusing arrest and attempting to flee the scene, Gibson was eventually cuffed and detained. Oh boy, I bet he regrets the things he said following this. While in the back of the car, he repeatedly threatened the police officer, stating that he owned Malibu and would spend every cent he had on getting even. According to the transcript obtained by the LA Times, Gibson blurted out, I quote, a barrage of anti-Semitic remarks about Jews, yelling, I quote again, the Jews are responsible for all the wars in the world. Are you a Jew? Oh boy. However, Gibson is refusing to face the act and continues to make movies, usually ones he's directed, including the likes of Hacksaw Ridge, which was received well by critics, even getting a 10-minute standing ovation at the Venice Film Festival, as well as earning an Academy Award nomination for Best Director. Coming in at number 3, Judy Garland. Now, I should state right off the bat that Garland had a truly difficult life, particularly during her younger years during the making of The Wizard of Oz. Garland coped for more than 40 years, however in the 1940s her iconic performances and stellar portrayals transformed into temper tantrums, resulting in her getting fired from shows for a handful of reasons, including being a no-show. She eventually wound up bankrupt after years of drug abuse, alcoholism, and failed marriages. Just after her 47th birthday, Garland died from an accidental overdose of prescribed medicines. However, as I said before, Garland was doomed to fail before she even started, being prescribed a number of different medications when she was just 15 years old on the set of Wizard of Oz. Not only that, but the treatment she she'd faced on that set was truly abysmal, including having to fend off attempts of sexual assault by various munchkins who were apparently drunk most days while on set. Coming in at number 2, Amanda Bynes. During her young years, Amanda Bynes was a rising star, even headlining her own series, The Amanda Show, and starring in films like She's the Man and Easy A. However, like many child stars before her, Bynes ran afoul with drugs and alcohol, but what really cemented her fall from grace was her Twitter meltdown following her arrest. The meltdown occurred in 2012, with tweets such as claiming she wanted Drake to murder her vagina, as well as tweeting Rihanna taunting that, I quote, "Chris Brown beat you because you're not pretty enough." She went on to call Miley Cyrus and Jay-Z ugly and berated herself for the same thing, but off of Twitter she was diagnosed with bipolar disorder and placed twice in a psychiatric facility following an incident where she set her neighbor's driveway on fire. However, years later, Bynes had seemingly reformed, heading towards a career in the fashion industry and stating that she no longer had any interest in acting. However, that all went out the window in 2017 when she stated that she was ready to come back. And lastly, coming in at number 1, Mark Salling. Salling shot to fame when he landed the role of Noah Puckerman on the hit TV show Glee, quickly making him a favourite amongst the musical-loving fans. However, this all fell apart in 2015 when Salling was arrested on charges relating to child pornography. According to an official statement from investigators, they found a laptop, USB drive and a hard drive filled with thousands of pictures and videos of child porn, and the ages of the children are believed to range from 5 to 12 years old. That's absolutely disgusting. Salling was instantly dropped from the miniseries Adi Shankar's Gods and Secrets, as the show said in a statement, I quote, "The innocence of our planet's children is something that must be protected at all costs." Salling agreed to a plea deal with prosecutors, however on January 30th, 2018, Salling hanged himself in a canyon near Los Angeles. Coming in at 10, Randy Quaid. Randy Quaid has had a truly bizarre life that deserves to be turned into a movie. In September 2009, Academy Award nominee Quaid and his wife Evie were arrested for not paying a $10,000 hotel bill. Following the incident, they were arrested again for squatting in a home they used to own. So what did they do? They skipped town and headed north to Canada. However, if you think that's weird, it got much weirder. Everyone assumed Quaid fled from the law, but he claimed they fled to avoid the Hollywood-style Whackers, a secret organization that took celebrities out or manufactured scandals to discredit them. In an interview with the Vancouver Press, Quaid talked about the mysteries behind the organization, claiming that Heath Ledger, David Carradine and Chris Penn were the group's latest victims. Since then, Quaid was arrested once again and released back in 2015. In February of 2017, Quaid posted a video on Twitter which showed him displaying a full mounted man beard, pretending to get it on with his wife while she was wearing a Rupert Murdoch mask. Yeah, I have no idea what's going on here. Coming in at 9, Wesley Snipes. Snipes was a major player back in the day, starring in films like White Men Can't Jump, Julie Newmar, and of course the Blade trilogy. Things were looking pretty good for Snipes until he failed to pay his taxes. Yeah, that's a big no-no. Usually if you're a Hollywood icon, you pay back your taxes plus some fines. However, not Snipes. No. His tax offences were so bad that he went to jail, serving a year in the slammer for each year he failed to pay, which was 3. On top of that, he had to pay back $17 million in taxes and penalties, which completely put a stop on his thriving career. Lesson number 1, pay your taxes, people. Coming in at 8, Paul Reubens. We all remember the bow-tied man-child Pee Wee Herman, right? The one that coined the phrase, I know you are, but what am I? I think anyway, don't quote me on that. Regardless, Paul Reubens became a fan favourite back in the 80s and into the 90s. However, this all changed drastically for him overnight when he was arrested in Florida for indecent exposure at an adult movie theatre, with sheriffs claiming they spotted him masturbating during the film. The actor was 38 at the time and pleaded no contest, agreeing to take part in an anti-drug campaign to avoid trial. He attempted to come back, but that also blew up in his face when more charges were brought against him, this time related to child pornography. Officers seized thousands of items, including a Rob Lowe sex tape that was in his collection. It took a decade before he was welcomed back into the public eye, which he did surprisingly well, starring in the Netflix film Pee-wee's Big Holiday. What do you guys think? Do you think he deserved a second chance? I don't. Coming in at 7, Brendan Fraser. Brendan Fraser is a name most of us forgot about, and seemingly so did Hollywood. You won't find this actor appearing in much of anything anymore, at least nothing of merit. Fraser shot to fame when he appeared as Rick O'Connell in the Mummy trilogy, a series which came to define him as an actor. He struck gold again in 2008 when he landed the leading role in the 3D fantasy Journey to the Center of the Earth, a worldwide box office success that made $242 million. However, things quickly quickly went downhill for the actor when he made the very poor decision to turn down the role in the sequel, which ultimately went to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, with the film going on to surpass the original, raking in $335 million. His poor decision seemed to draw the end of his career. I'm sure he's having major regrets these days. Coming in at 6, Jennifer Grey. Jennifer Grey was an 80s darling, starring in films like Dirty Dancing and Ferris Bueller's Day Off. However, she quickly vanished from the spotlight and failed to book any major roles following her success. Why was this? Well, if you didn't know, Grey was known for her nose, but as her career began to grow in the 90s, she got a nose job, which left her looking completely different, made casting her that much harder because people simply didn't recognize her. Grey once said, I quote, "It was the nose job from hell. I'll always be this once famous actress nobody recognizes because of a nose job." Coming in at 5, Rob Lowe. As mentioned in our number 8 point, St. Elmo's Fire star Rob Lowe had a sex tape. That's right, it was the first video of a celebrity having sex to be copied and sold at large around the world. But to make things worse, the video was of him having sex with a 16-year-old girl, which resulted in his career taking a serious nosedive. According to reports, Lowe was in Atlanta at the 1988 Democratic Convention when he took home 2 girls after meeting them in a nightclub, unaware that one was just 16 years old. However, the actor escaped prosecution as the legal age of consent in Georgia is just 16. He took yet another blow though when a second clip was leaked showing him and a friend having sex with a woman at the same time. However, it didn't seem to negatively affect the actor too much as he went on to star in Wayne's World and Parks and Recreation. Lucky for some, I guess. Coming in at 4, Michael Richards. Seinfeld is considered to be one of the greatest television shows of all time. To most people, that is. Not me. I didn't like it. Michael Richards, of course, was one of the stars of the show. However, his long-running career was quickly met by a brick wall when he did a live show in 2006 that resulted in him engaging in a battle of wits with a member of the audience. In a split-second decision, he destroyed his entire career by responding to the man with a series of racial slurs, demanding that the African-American customer be thrown out. A video surfaced of the incident which showed Richards stop midway through his show and tell the audience member, I quote, "50 years ago they'd have you hanging upside down with a f***ing fork up your ass." The audience was of course just as shocked as we were, and the comedian left the stage without finishing his routine. Since then he has made a handful of small appearances, but he has been unable to land any major roles in the industry. Coming in at 3, Mark Salling. Glee's Noah Puckerman was a fan favourite among viewers back in the day, but that all came quickly crumbling away from the actor when he was arrested in LA in December 2015 for charges related to child pornography. According to investigators, they found a laptop, USB drive and a hard drive filled with thousands of pictures and videos of child pornography, with the ages of children ranging from 5 years old to 12. The actor was set to star in the miniseries Adi Shankar's Gods and Secrets, but was very quickly dropped when news broke, with the producer saying in a statement, I quote, "The innocence of our planet's children is something that must be protected at all costs." Salling eventually agreed to a plea deal. However, before his sentencing, he hanged himself in a canyon near his LA home and was found dead on January 30th, 2018. Coming in at 2, Kevin Spacey. Oh, Kevin Spacey. Yet another person on our list that has become a Hollywood disgrace after reports of sexual misconduct and assault were brought against him. In October 2017, actor Anthony Rapp accused Spacey of making sexual advances towards him. Rapp was just 14 years old at the time. Once this surfaced, many other men came forward with similar stories, all of which accused Spacey of harassment and assault. In 2018, Spacey was charged with indecent assault and battery against an 18-year-old boy, and he was ultimately arrested. At the time, Kevin Spacey was starring in the film All the Money in the World. However, when these allegations came to light, his scenes were entirely reshot with the actor Christopher Plummer in his place. F*** you, Kevin Spacey. Oh, and on top of that, he used being gay as an excuse. You, Kevin Spacey. And finally in at number 1, Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby was a legend back in the day, starring in the mega hit TV series The Cosby Show. However, the facade all came crashing down when several sexual assault allegations against the star became public, with the allegations spanning from the 1960s to the early 2000s. Although most of the cases fell outside of the statute of limitations, several lawsuits were filed against the actor, drawing the end of his prolific career. 25 colleges and universities rescinded Cosby's honorary degrees, and Walt Disney removed a statue of him from their Academy of Television Arts and Sciences Hall of Fame plaza. All episodes of The Cosby Show were pulled and clips were removed from TV Land's website. Even his talent agency ditched him, deservedly so. This guy is an utter d*** and doesn't deserve any more attention than that.